So, I had gluten today. Whoops. Well, and that has made me want to record a bit of a health update on that. I and I guess my feelings around it because I went into a coffee shop. I asked them, "Is anything gluten free?" And they're like, "Actually, this thing is." And I was like, "Okay, it just says it's vegan, but if you say it's gluten free," and then we asked another person, they're like, "Yeah, I'm like, okay." Because basically, I was just looking for a treat in the morning on a Monday morning, and even though I'd had breakfast, I wanted a little gluten-free muffin or something. And it's Austin, so a lot of the stuff is. So I bought it, I was eating it, and like 3 bites in, I was like, this isn't gluten free. This may be vegan. That's what it tastes like. And perhaps it just tasted better than gluten free. It was less crumbly. But um, I could just tell. And I was like, I've got to ask again. And, I think anyone out there with a food sensitivity or an autoimmune disease or in some way that they've modified their diet for their health, you evaluate every situation a little bit differently. And but sometimes you go into the whole story with the person, like, hey, I was diagnosed with this thing, and this is how I am now, and I have to watch out for this stuff. But that's my dog in the background crawling around. Wait, there he is. Ah, can you see him? Oh, he's that black dot. Stop it. Stop. Whatever. So, sometimes you go into the big thing and you tell the people the story, and then sometimes you just don't want to, and you don't know how to, and you're not trying to put anything on someone like, oh, hey, I have this health diagnosis I really have to work with, and Bud, buddy. Okay, now he's settled down. Oh, my hair. So, you don't always want to put it on people, and you can go into a restaurant and tell them that you're gluten sensitive or you're intolerant, um, and you hope that people hear it and people come at it with their own perspectives. Like, I'm sure every waiter is like, "Yeah, I heard that. Whatever. Everyone isn't eating gluten, and it's like super annoying for them." But I have found, the more I share, the more they're on my side and help. But I don't always want to go into it because, again, it's like I'm not trying to like start up a pity party, but I think it's that tender balance we're all trying to find with like just letting our health needs be known and saying like I'm not doing this because I'm on a fad diet. I actually feel a difference in my body. So anyway, back to my story. Today when I go in asking for and I take a couple bites. I'm like, oh. So I go back to the guy who sold it to me, and I'm like, are you totally sure? Because I think there's gluten in here. He's like, let me go check. He goes to the back, and then meanwhile, I turn to the other guy who had said, he was the one saying like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he continued to say, yeah, it's totally gluten free. And he's like, but, if it's not, I guess you'll see. And it just sort of came across as like, I'm sure you just have an upset stomach, so I don't care. Maybe that's not how he meant it, but he clearly didn't realize why it's important to me. And, the other gentleman came back who was being super helpful and said, there's gluten in it. And I was like, here you go. and he refunded, and he was super nice and, asked if there's anything you could get me. And he was like, just trying to make it all okay. And it was him, the person who already was being helpful, that I said, the reason I do this is because I was diagnosed with MS last year. This does cause an effect in my body. It's not just some sort of dietary or digestive inconvenience. It affects me for a week afterwards. But I do look at every situation where now this is the second time I've accidentally had a significant amount of gluten. And I, look forward to just observing what happens to my body and seeing how it might differ from the last time. So, he was nice and he heard it. But, it was afterwards I was like, wow, that guy who was so capricious and so the alternate man and was like, oh, sure, it's gluten-free. Oh, doesn't really matter if it isn't. And it's like, well, to me it does. And now, um, it's been like 2 hours and I can feel just like moving, and this is what happened before, just sort of like moving pain, and I'm a little like almost teary. And someone this weekend had mentioned, well, one of your lesions might be on the area of the brain that affects tears. So that could be happening. It's just really interesting, and it's interesting to just feel off. And I say it and I say it and I say it, and that's why I think it's good. Not good. Why, if I accidentally have gluten, it's perhaps how it should be, because it reminds me when I feel like crap after it that, oh, I just feel like what they say MS people feel like. So pain, joints, tiredness, brain fog, that happens, within a couple hours, and last time lasted for a week and just like knocked me out. So that's why I avoid it, because I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to feel sick and infirmed. And if it's so clear that this thing that I eat creates a reaction, then I'll just stop doing that, because I don't want to feel like a sick person, and I don't want to feel like this disease is sort of dictating my life. I'd rather me dictate my diet and the course of my disease in that way. So there's just a lot of thoughts happening. Because again, what sticks with me is the guy who's just like, maybe it will. Let's just see what happens if it's gluten. And I'm like, you're so mean. But he doesn't know. I didn't tell him about the MS. And I almost considered calling his manager, because I know the manager of the coffee shop, and she's wonderful. And I almost considered saying, hey, this guy was just really capricious with his food recommendations, and I know I didn't tell him that it was a significant matter for me and why it was, because I don't think that's on us to have to let everyone know just how serious it is. No, people should take us on our word that if I can't eat something, then I can't eat something. But I'm not going to call the manager. I'm going to just instead know that if I need to say why something is important to me, then I can say that. If I need to just say, hey, I had a health diagnosis that was quite serious. I can't eat certain things. They affect me very severely. Then I have to say that, and I have to get good. It's on me to find out. Seriously, Mr. Bojangles, he is. But basically, it's on me right now to figure out the way to say this. It's on me to figure out the like tight, easy, non-emotional way to say, diagnosed with MS, this affects me, and it affects me for days. So that is, what I'm going to work on. It's my challenge. I'm not going to make it about one person, but I'm going to be inspired by that gentleman who didn't quite understand why this was a big deal. That's it. Challenge accepted.